All right, so you're back with the Apex Gamer channel. We're bringing you another video. This is more of a different video to talk about some Fortnite meta things that kind of bug me, and no one really talks about them. And even the stuff that people talk about, they talk about it a little different. They have a little different opinion than I do. But let's go ahead and we're gonna just jump into each individual little item that I have on the agenda, and we'll kind of talk about that in those individual sections. So let's go ahead and kick it off with the first point that I want to make, and let's go ahead and see how this all pans out. All right, for the first point I want to make is that shotguns at close range need some sort of bonus damage, because once you've hit a certain distance with shotguns, it does increase your potential to hit a headshot and hit a critical shot, and the critical shot might do enough damage to one-shot someone if they're below 200. But what I suggest is that no shotgun from any range close enough to be in those close engagements should hit a player for less than 200, because once you've hit a certain point, you're at the point where a shotgun in real life would probably rip someone's arm off or rip someone's leg off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a shotgun. It's not a pistol. It's not a BB gun. It's not an AR. So there's no reason for it should be hitting from those distances. And I don't mean from long range. Like, I'm going to place this wall right here and I'm going to shoot it with a shotgun real quick. Bow, bow. Took 2 shots with the heavy shotgun. It's a purple heavy shotgun. Granted, it's not the greatest heavy shotgun, and it's not the double barrel. It's the purple heavy shotgun. But let's watch that again. Bop, bop, as it's building. From this particular range, a shotgun shouldn't hit you for above 200. I mean, it maybe if it hits you directly in the face with all the pellets, but the likelihood of that happening from what looks to be like, you know, a full ramp away. So like, basically, let's do it in spaces. A full space away, a shotgun probably shouldn't headshot you, and it probably shouldn't. I mean, even if it headshots you, it probably shouldn't hit you for 200. It's a full space away. If I can put a space between me and you, so like if I'm a step out, okay, so let's put 2 spaces. So if I'm like a space and a step, enough to actually put a wall between us, I shouldn't be able to one-shot you with a shotgun. And that's what they did. They effectively made that the case. Like, pump shotguns won't one-shot you from this distance. But what they also did was, now, in order to shoot down a wall, look at the pump shotgun. From that same distance, it takes 4 shots to get that wall down. Let's go to the heavy. 2 shots with the heavy, it is out of there. Wall's done. Which feels balanced. I mean, the heavy hitting the wall twice from that distance feels okay, because if you shot a wall that far away twice with a heavy, you should knock it down. I mean, eventually. But what I'm saying is, if you're this range and you pull out a heavy and you hit somebody and you still have to hit them that many times to do that much damage to them, that's just crazy. That makes no sense. Headshot, body shot, a shotgun from this distance, me to you, this is point blank range, me to you, a shotgun in real life or in any situation would one-shot you. It would rip through your body. Like, it would make you look like Goku when he got hit by that special beam cannon in the first season of Dragon Ball. It would tear a hole in you. And I think that all shotguns should probably get a close range. It's another multiplier. Headshot multiplier would be separate from this, but a multiplier for just being at this distance. Like, once you've hit this point, and I know a lot of the pros are complaining about the double barrel already because it hits for like 125 from that range, but I don't know. I don't understand their complaint. If you're that close to someone, you should probably bop them. Like, you've hit the point where there's like no room for any sort of error in that engagement. You can't build a wall between you at that space. Like, once you've hit this point, you can't even protect yourself from an engagement. So if you get hit with a shotgun shot, head or body, there should be some sort of multiplier that increases that damage or increases the likelihood of every pellet hitting you, and it should hit you for at least enough to kill. And not maybe not with well, I mean, I can't even say that. Maybe not with the white tack, because the white tack does have a crazy spread, but it should still put you in a very bad situation to be hit. So a multiplier there would make a lot of sense to me, and it would fix a lot of those engagements that end up in like these potato fights where you see 2 players like standing right here, just 7, 12, 22. It's like that I know when they see that. I know when somebody at Epic sees that and they see that happening on a stream or in a tournament, they're just like, holy potato fight. Like, what is this noise? Like, this should not happen. So I think that multiplier being there, like a close range multiplier that maybe doubles the damage that the shotgun shot would hit you with for each pellet from that range. And if each pellet hits you, then it doubles the shot. So if you get hit with a more accurate shot, obviously the chances of you being critted would be more, and the chances of you getting KO would be even greater. So I think that would be a big thing, and that would fix a lot of the shotgun engagement, especially from this distance. And you know, because this range is not great. It's not ideal. Like being a full space back and shooting somebody with a shotgun to the head and hitting it for under 200 is not ideal. But if you have that close range modifier, because most players take jumping shots, so they don't even shoot you from that distance. Most players that are shooting from this range, once they hit this point on you, they'll jump shot you and then bow. A jump shot that's closing that distance should multiply and should probably KO you, and I just feel like that would be a very vital change for a lot of players. Let's jump into the next point in this video. All right, for this next point, it's a little different. It's more of a building situation. So this happens to me, and it probably doesn't happen to a lot of other players, but it happens to me all the time. And I'll be building, and something that's not in my player's direct line of sight will build. So like I'll be down here on a ramp, getting ready to build above myself or do something, and my character will start to place a floor here. And as I'm moving up the ramp, not looking at the ramp, like I'm purposefully looking down so that I don't build there, my character will place a floor over my head. And it's like, I don't feel like that should happen. I know a lot of players have adapted that into their style. As they're building, they'll go above themselves. They'll place a floor. They'll edit it really quickly, or they'll place a pyramid, edit it really quickly, and use it in their rush. And it helps. Yes, it's smart and it helps and it's good. But I don't want that to happen when I'm doing something else, when I'm not trying to put myself in that situation, where I'm not trying to build above my head. So I think that building should only build in your direct player's line of sight. And I know a lot of players, when they do they do ramp rushes, they'll look up and down as they do it. And so most players won't even be affected by that. And most players aren't even affected by this, but it affects it affects a lot of people and they don't even realize it. And when the build happens and it's not in your LOS, it comes above your head, it's super frustrating because you don't know why it happened. And I've seen it happen to streamers. So it's not like it's something that's exclusive to players that aren't good at building. Like that situation right there, perfect example. As I was going up, the build just placed over my head. Like I was looking down at the ground, and my floor placed over my head. And that used to happen to me all the time when I first started learning how to build on mouse and keyboard, and it was super frustrating because the more I tried to learn, the more I kept doing that, like bumping myself into a build. And that's gonna be a part of another point that I make later in the video, but the change that I suggest for that is to just make it to where you can't build if you're out of your direct line of sight. It doesn't make any sense that you still build over yourself when you're not in your line of sight. It's kind of annoying. And it drives me crazy, and it happens to me all the time. But I think that would just to fix it to where you're not building out of your line of sight. It's where your player cannot place something over themselves if they're not looking in that direction. Like if they can't see it, it shouldn't place. Like when you're trying to ramp up, like it happens all the time when I'm trying to build up the side of a mountain. I'll be building up the mountain running straight, and my character will start placing ramps above me, just wasting my mats, placing ramp above me. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I'm not in a situation where I'm being pinched as I'm moving up the mountain. So it's like, I don't want to be doing this. If I'm not trying to do this to like make a quick turn or something, like right there, another line of sight build. I did not see that floor. I just jumped and that floor went up. Like as I turned and jumped, the floor went above my head. And it's like, that's annoying as heck, man. And I don't agree that should be a thing. Like I think that should be fixed out or patched out of the game to where you can't build outside of your line of sight. It won't. Some players might notice it, and it might affect some players and make kind of mess up their day for a little bit. But overall, that's a good change. Like overall, to fix the problem of players accidentally building over the top of their own heads. It's like, that's not ideal. If that happens in a bad situation, somebody's gonna be real mad. Hey, I think the cube is rolling. I'm gonna miss it. I think it's rolling. Where the heck are you going, brother? Where are we? I mean, where the heck is this cube going? Look. I mean, it printed the ruin and everything, blah, blah, blah. I think it just officially rolled off of it. No, the ruin's way back there. It been rolled off it. A lot of loose loot over there. That's kind of weird. But where the heck are you going, brother? Look where you facing, pal. Look at this map. Where's this guy going? You just rolled further away from Loot Lake. Where the heck is this cube going, buddy? You're lost, pal. The cube is drunk. The cube don't know where he going no more. Hey, guy. Screw you, too. Run. Screw you, too, cube. Bah. Anyway, on to the next point. All right, so for the next point, it's gonna be a little harder to demonstrate in the playground mode because I don't have a target to shoot at and I don't have a person to hit. So this one's gonna be a little harder to illustrate. But Bloom as a shooting mechanic makes absolutely no sense in a competitive PvP game that players are actually trying to win money by beating other players with skill. I mean, I'm gonna zoom in on this reticle for the video purpose. So when this point in the video comes up, I'm gonna zoom in on this reticle. Let's take a quick look at how small this dot is. And let's take a look at where the bullets go and traverse to this dot. Look at this tiny dot. Let's place on something colorful that way you can see it. That little tiny white dot. To see that on a player as they're moving around in this map is almost impossible. To hit someone, to see someone moving, line this up and hit them perfectly is almost impossible because look at how tiny that dot is in context of this huge world. And you can be in an engagement with someone that's more than 250 meters away in a snipe battle, which you shouldn't do. You should not in any sort of realistic way be sniping at somebody that's, you know, on the top of this here build. Like you're in a build fight, fighting some guy that's that far away. And, you know, you don't know for a fact that your bullet's going to go where it is. With a sniper's a little different because snipers' bullets kind of go, they travel straight and then they drop. So you kind of know where they're headed. Like, as you saw, the drop there wasn't even that crazy. But let's go back to this. Let's use the burst. Let's use the P90, for example. Put it back on this little white dot. Look at how small that dot is. Let's shoot at that. Do you see all those bullets that are just whizzing by the dot? There's already recoil. As you can tell, the reticle is already moving, so there's recoil. Something's happening. And while something's happening, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that those bullets, the ones that are going to the dot, aren't going directly to the dot. So, I mean, there's nothing actually in the game that'll leave an imprint so you can tell where the bullets actually went. But look at that wall. Look at that dot. Let's shoot something that has some longevity. Look at that dot, and look where those bullets are going. Look how far that spread is. It's almost like every 10th bullet goes to the dot. That's crazy. I can see if the player was, you know, bobbing and weaving, you know, look, my aim was doing this number right here. That makes sense. And, you know, the aim going crazy. Look at that. If the aim was doing that, that makes sense. But my aim isn't bobbing and weaving. Look at my aim. Let's go ahead and point it out. Very little movement, but the bullets are all just doing whatever they want to do. And that's because Bloom is a system in this game that allows bullets to kind of just randomly go where they're going to go as long as they're within that gun's blooming range. And that's crazy to me. Like, that doesn't make any sense when you have a competitive game, a game as competitive as Fortnite. It's a battle royale for one, so every shot matters. I mean, and skill is should be at the forefront of everybody's play style, but you can't be completely skillful if there's something so random being involved. Like, something as random as Bloom being involved is just crazy. Now, to make the game 100% accurate doesn't seem like a 100% fix. So in my mind, the only true fix that they can do there, the only thing that they can change for sure that would make that account for that system and, you know, kind of reshuffle the deck for Bloom is if they remove Bloom altogether, make the bullets 100% go to the dot in between the blooming range, all go to the dot, but increase the amount of recoil so it's a little harder to spray and that dot be accurate. Because as you saw when I was spraying, it's super easy to maintain the direction of your dot. Like, my dot stays pretty consistent. Let's go ahead and reload this real quick and blow down this wall. My dot stays pretty consistent. Of course, it's moving and I'm having to make some adjustments for it, but it's not moving that much. And if the bullets were 100% accurate, every shot, every time you line of sight somebody, it would just be a laser beam. But if the recoil, say I pulled the trigger and I was holding this P90 and the recoil was actually like impactful, like the recoil was doing this number, and I was constantly fighting it down, like in order to spray, constantly having to fight it down, that wouldn't be the most unbalanced thing in the world, and it would at least lead to more skillful engagements with guns from longer ranges. Because right now, having the gun just kind of randomly decide which one of its bullets are going to hit, that just doesn't make any sort of sense. And it's crazy that the system is still in the game at this point, because it's such a great game and they do the right thing by their community in most cases, and they have a real awareness of what the game should be and how it should be played for the most part. And it's just sad that there's some things like that that's still in the game that make no sense, like Bloom and building outside of your line of sight. It's just it's kind of silly because Bloom at this point has been talked about. I'm sure a lot of streamers and a lot of YouTubers have made videos to talk explicitly about why Bloom doesn't make sense in a game that already has recoil. Now, if there was no recoil and the reticle just was 100%, then Bloom makes a lot of sense. It's like, okay, this guy is a laser. Like, look at his aim. He just put that dot on somebody and it goes nowhere. If that were the case, then yeah, Bloom makes sense. But to have that tiny reticle being the defining factor of if your bullet hits, and then having Bloom stacked on top of that, so it's like it just adds that level of randomness that really peeve like a lot of players that are skillful. Like all the high skill players do not like the amount of randomness that's involved with just shooting someone with a gun. It's like, I know there's a lot of spraying in the game right now, but there would be a lot. It would still be spraying in the game regardless. Like spraying ain't going away because there's so many like militarized guns that really have allowed that spraying to kind of take place. Like the whole push towards the militarized guns, that was what brought in spray meta. Like it wasn't the fact that, I mean, they nerfed shotguns, yes. It did force people to kind of like not shotgun a build down, which I don't agree with. I mean, if you shoot a wall with a shotgun, it should still do damage to that wall. It shouldn't be taking like ridiculous amounts of time to damage a wall with a shotgun. But spraying became more ideal because, shotguns essentially kind of fell to the back burner. And at one point, shotguns were ridiculous. Shotguns used to deal 270 damage. Or, well, not 270. It was like 227. But they can do 227 from almost 2 spaces out. It was like, that made absolutely no sense. And players were definitely on the fence about it because players who were very good with shotguns were completely dominant. And they could just one-shot you from full health from 8 to 6 feet away. 8 to 10 feet. It's like, that should never have happened. But I don't agree that same player should hit you from 6 feet away and do you 20 something damage or 40 damage. Like if he's shooting you in the head with a shotgun from 8 feet away, he should still probably hit you pretty hard. But yeah, no, that's a topic that we kind of already went over. We kind of glossed over shotguns and what they were doing currently. Wow, look at that spray. Wow. Those bullets go everywhere. Look at that spread. Look how big that is. That spread is humongous. And you mean to tell me if I'm standing right here and all those bullets hit you directly, there's no boost to damage? Like if I barrel stuff you, I'm right up on you with a shotgun and I hit you right in the chest like that, I should walk right through you. Like there should be no person there. But let's jump to the next point, which is the last point of the whole video. And I'm going to have to get a second gun for this point. So we're going to jump to that point in a second. See you in a second. All right. So as you can tell, my shotguns are on the ground, right? I left them down. Let me rearrange this a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna keep it like this. So to nerf shotguns further, they added this buffer time to drawing them out. That was when they nerfed shotguns originally. So as you can tell, all weapons come out, there's like an animation, and the animation takes a different amount of time based on how heavy the gun is. The heaviest that you saw in this lineup was the shotgun. Look how fast let's take a look at the timer for how quick the P90 comes out. We're gonna switch to the AR. We're gonna switch to the SMG and we're gonna switch to the P90. Boom. Instant. Almost instant anyway. Let's go to mouse down. Considerably longer, right? It was a heavier hitting weapon. It doesn't hit as heavy anymore, but it was a heavier hitting weapon at the time that the change was made. So when that change was made, they incorporated this other thing. This thing right here. So if you shoot the gun, then swap, there's a timer. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to slow this down in the video for video purposes. I'm going to slow it down so you can see the timer. But what I want you to see is when I draw the pump out, even though the pump animation is slow, that timer is longer than the pump's animation. So let's take a look at that. As you can tell from the slow-mo that the pump was in character hand and ready to go long before the timer to release me to shoot went. I don't agree that that should be in the game. Or if that's going to be in the game, it should be timed to the pump's animation. So if the pump animates to come to my hand, I want to be able to shoot it as soon as my character has it at the ready. I shouldn't have to bring it to the ready and then my character wait another like half a second to shoot it. So what I would like to suggest, because since it's not consistent with everything else in the game, and I'm about to show you it's not consistent. It's not consistent with everything else in the game. That pump timer should either be removed altogether or that cooldown timer should be added to all weapons that swap. And let me show you why that should be added to all weapons that swap. This exact reason right here. Let's go ahead and reload it. Go ahead and reload it. We're gonna make sure these guns are all reloaded. That one's good to go. Let's take Q. Q, you reloaded, you good to go. Mouse wheel up. You reloaded. Let's go ahead and reload you. This right here. This is the reason why all weapons should have a swap, especially weapons in their own class should all have a swap timer. If shotguns have to have a swap timer, everything should have to have a swap timer just for this reason right here. For whatever reason, my mouse wheel is acting crazy. Anyway, you get the message. I went from P90 into my SMG and then into an AR, and I never had to stop. There was no timer. No timer. Now, if I would have went pump into anything, and that's why the pump SMG meta exists, because there's nothing stopping the pump and SMG meta. No cooldown timer. Just how much time it takes to draw the weapon out. And because the SMGs are the smallest weapons in the game, they draw out a little bit faster than everything else. But let's take a look at take a look at heavy to pump. That was the fastest I can get those 2 shots off. Let's just take a look at 2 pump shots back to back. Wait, hold up. Am I reloaded? Reload the gun, girl. Like, why she reload 1 bullet? Get out of here. Reload the gun. Bop. 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 Okay, now let's go to heavy. Let's go to heavy. Reload the gun. Quit playing with me. Quit playing with me. Bop. 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 Now let's just take a look. We're going to bop, switch, bop. It's almost a half second longer just because I swap weapons, but there's nothing preventing me from going. And that part of it, that's the part of it that's the craziest to me, is that there's a cooldown timer for swapping between guns that deal heavy damage but shoot incredibly slow, but there's none between guns that shoot incredibly fast for long periods of time and do crazy damage and also just shred builds, but there's no cooldown timer. So the suggestion is either add a cooldown timer swap to everything, even if it's everything within its own class, like SMG to SMG, AR to AR, snipe to snipe. Add a timer that matches the timer that's on shotguns currently to all swaps, or remove swap timers like that. Remove those like inhibiting swap timers like that altogether, because that's all it does is it forces players to not hold that same weapon and to swap to a different weapon in order to do the rest of the damage. And pump SMG or tac SMG or whatever it is, whatever meta combo that people are using, I don't think that that's a better solution than what people were doing before. I mean, at one point, people were just using 2 shotguns, running around and then bop again, bop again. They're having to aim at you every time. But with the SMG, they can just spray you and then toggle over to the next one. Boom. Oh, okay. It doesn't even animate if you're ADSing. Like, there's no animation for ADSing. Look at this. You ADS swap, no animation. I don't even know if the cooldown timer works if you're ADSing. Let's go to shotgun. It does. So the cooldown timer works, but the animation isn't even there. Like, your character doesn't even visually animate when you swap while holding a weapon. That's just crazy. That's crazy. Like, this whole draw out animation, if the draw out animation doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm gonna draw. As the animation starts, I'm gonna start firing. Okay, it took till the animation was over to fire. Let's reload this gun real quick. And I'm gonna do it while ADSing so we can see if it doesn't matter at all. If I can ADS and swap while I'm in the weapon, that's even crazier. Hold up. It's a weird button for me. Okay, so she's animating now. Or is it just when you're walking? I think it's just when you're walking. What the heck, man? Look at this. Hold up. It's a little harder for me to hit that button. Actually, I'm gonna fix this. No, it's not. All right, so let's go. Okay, she needed to reload. That's the only reason she stopped. Reload the gun, girl. Come on. You got it. So we're gonna walk, we'll shoot. So it does take time, and I think it takes about the same amount of time it would take to animate. But I never let go of left click. Like I never let go. I was just walking and I ADS. I mean, I was ADS walking and I just swapped. It does pull you out of ADS, but it doesn't even animate. And I think if the animate is there and the timer's there, those are two different things. They're doing two totally, they have the similar function, but they work differently. And if that's the case, it should be consistent across the board in the game. It doesn't make sense for a game to have one like penalty for one class of weapons, but not that same penalty doesn't affect other more treacherous classes in that same game. That's like people, if players got real good at like drawing out the like two hunting rifles and they hunting rifle two people at one time, or hunting rifle a build and then hunting rifle the player in the head, like in the same amount of time that they would have fired off like, you know, 2 quick rounds, you know what I'm saying? Like if they just hunting rifle real fast and then swap to the next hunting rifle and knock another player, like that is just as like bad as popping somebody with a shotgun and immediately switching to the next shotgun. It's the same situation. It's literally the same thing. It's just with a hunting rifle. So if that's the case, if weapons should have these timers that stop you from swapping from weapon to weapon, that should be that shouldn't just be casually thrown in on one weapon class and affecting only one type of gun being doubled. If you can still double other guns in the game that are, you know, if the game is intended for you to only use one weapon of each type, then that penalty should affect all weapons, or it shouldn't be there at all. And that's pretty much all I can say about that for the rest of this video. I'm gonna go ahead and leave you with those little tidbits. I think it's like 5 or 6 points that I made, that little changes that if I were in charge, if I was somebody at Epic and I was making decisions when it came to gameplay, those are things I would be looking at addressing myself and making changes to, just to improve overall like player, to improve the game's quality. Like, because I don't really care about who's winning in the meta or whatever. Like, it's not important to me, all those things. The thing that's important to me most is that the game makes sense in all its situations. Like when they made the change to building, where they made metal and brick have better starting health than wood, that seems like a change that was like ridiculously long overdue, because at one point wood came out the fastest. I mean, wood had the most health when it came out, and that makes no sense if you're thinking about just durability of the material. But the other materials had more overall durability, but wood just had faster starting durability, which shifted the meta where everybody used wood as their primary build because it had the durability right out the gate. It's like right out the gate, they could throw it up and it had 200 shit, it had 200 health. And because that was the meta, that's the way people played, and then that was the harvesting. That was the thing people harvest. I don't agree that harvesting is fast enough. I think harvesting is a little too slow, and I feel like harvesting things like metal are way too damn loud to make it impossible to want to harvest metal, because it's so loud. You're pretty much putting everybody on notice that you're out here harvesting metal. It's like the most obvious thing in the world. But I'm gonna leave you with that for the video. That's the only points I wanted to touch on. We're gonna go ahead and keep it moving, and we'll see you on the next rip. You know, as soon as that is, whenever that is. I've been looking into this game a lot since I've been playing it more. You know, it kind of it appeases me in the sense that I want to learn more, and I want to get better, and I want to just keep learning. And that's what keeps it interesting. Is not being good at the game doesn't make me want to play it more, or being bad at the game doesn't make me not want to play it. But the fact that the game keeps me interested and invested is why I continue to play. Doesn't matter about wins. If you use wins to identify how good you are or how much fun you're having, or if you base your enjoyment solely on wins, you are missing the boat, my friend. Get your life together. You're missing the boat if wins are the only way you can identify if you're enjoying something, or the only way to have fun in the game is to be able to win in all situations. That's a terrible way to be. It's a terrible way to look at life, because sometimes winning isn't everything, and it's not. So until next time, from Bryant the Apex Gamer, hope you enjoyed the video. If you don't like Fortnite videos and you're here for my UFC videos, well, you know, I'm a diverse character. If you don't know that by me now, I don't know how you got here, because I'm a pretty diverse guy from the start. So if you don't know that, you don't know me, I mean, you know, let me introduce myself. My name is Bryant, and I'm very diverse. I like a lot of different things. And I won't be pigeonholed to any one thing, so get used to it, my man. But till next time, see you guys on the next video. As soon as that'll be, I'll let you know. And see you soon. Peace.